It is time for another episode of Broad Street and Beyond, where everything Philly sports at Central PA is in play. We leave those New York sports in the penalty box. And now, here's Chase and JT.
And we are back again, taking kind of that downhill slalom here as the Olympics continue here. Another episode, Broad Street and Beyond. Welcome aboard. Just remember to get caught up on all the latest episodes here at Broad Street and Beyond. Just make sure you like, subscribe, and share. JT, welcome back, buddy. Another week of sports out there. I mean, not much going on, but we have some sports to talk about here this week. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. You know, it's a little warmer this week and the snow's melting, and I'm going to try to do a luge.
What year is that? What year is that from? What? That Daytona 500 picture. What year is that from?
That was from this past weekend.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Is that they still got an M&M car there? Is that the M&M car?
I think so. That was actually before, that was when all the cars were actually on the track.
Yeah, before they wrecked, I guess, huh?
Before they decided to play arcade game and just, wreck into each other. Before they decided to play Wreck-It Ralph at Daytona.
That's the way it always is at Daytona, man. That's why you always watch it, man. The first race of the year. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But welcome aboard here, YouTube world. Of course, another episode here with Chase and JT. As we hop into sports, we got some sports to talk about, but before we get there, we got to warm JT up. He's a little baffled. He just came out of a meeting, so we got to get him warmed up with the three questions for JT. So let's get to him. You ready, buddy?
Let's go.
All right, man. Minus ice hockey, what Olympic sport do you think you would like to try?
Ooh, minus ice hockey. I would, you know what? I'll take the easy way out. I would say curling.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I'd like to get out there and curl.
Okay.
And use and apparently you're allowed to, once you release, you're allowed to take your finger and poke the stone, right?
I guess I don't understand curling. I think we went over this before.
There was a big cheating incident with Team Canada. One curler from Canada was accused of touching the stone with his index finger to guide it, and there's a big controversy right now.
Did they get banned?
I don't know if he got banned. I guess they're investigating it to see what might happen.
Interesting.
Those damn curlers.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man.
I don't trust any of them.
I wouldn't either. I
don't trust them as far as I can curl them.
Looks like people swifting their kitchen floor when they're doing that. Like that's what it always reminds me of. So. Second question, man. Did you have a Nintendo when you were a kid?
Absolutely, I did. I got a Nintendo, the original NES, for Christmas. When I was 12 years old, and it might have been the best Christmas that I can ever remember. And I had a Super NES,
okay.
I had a Super NES, and I had the original Game Boy.
So I'm guessing you played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out then.
Oh, all the time. All
right, so here's the second question. Did you get to ever Mike Tyson, and did you ever beat Mike Tyson in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out?
I got to Mike Tyson, but I was never able to beat Mike Tyson.
I just can't beat that big hippo guy, the guy that's like third or fourth. Can't get by him.
Oh, do you know what the trick is?
They hit him in the stomach, I guess.
You wait until he raises. No. You wait until he opens his mouth, and then you jab him in the face.
Okay.
And then he's defenseless, and you go to town on his big belly there.
See, I don't like to look up the tricks. I want to try and do it by myself before I look up the tricks.
It's not the trick. That's just the way you're supposed to beat it.
That's the way it is. All right.
Yeah.
I'll try that next time. I'll have to try that. Your best.
Do you still play Nintendo?
I do. I have one of those little. The little box that it came out probably 3-4 years ago. That's got like 32 games on it. Yep, I got it.
Oh my goodness! I'll be
got
over
it downstairs. We'll play a little Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I think there's Tecmo Bowls on there too.
Oh, I love it.
There's a lot of good games on there, man. Zelda's on there.
I'll be right over after the
man. We'll have a tournament. We'll play a tournament.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, man. Third question to get you warmed up. Best place to go for pizza? Doesn't have to be in the Lebanon Valley. Could be anywhere.
Oh boy. Well, I'll tell you what. I tell you what. I had a really good pizza. Two places. The last two places that I had pizza were really good. One was at Mancino's at
Okay.
the Lebanon Valley Mall, and the other was right up the road from the station here. It's a place called Martino's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's right down the road on the right. A little out of the way. It's not out of the way because of where I work, but if you're, depending on where you live out in the county, it's maybe a little out of the way. But their pizza for me is well worth the drive.
Top notch. I'll tell you what, Mancino's got some good that meat stuffed pizza that you guys brought back that day. That thing
In
was
fact,
so
we had that the last time we got together as a group, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. All right, buddy, you warmed up now? Ready to tackle some sports here, man?
Let's do it.
All right, JT's warmed up, so let's have at it. Let's go into spring training baseball. Of course, full squad workouts are starting this week. The whole team is there. One guy that's not there, though, is Nick Castellanos. He's out in San Diego now, picked up by the Padres. He signed a deal, 1-year deal, under $1 million. What are your thoughts on that, JT?
I think we kind of all saw it coming. I mean, they pretty much had said in the when they got eliminated this past when the offseason began that they were going to do everything they could to trade and release him, and we went the whole offseason. They couldn't find a trade partner, and at that point, I mean, the Phillies really didn't have any leverage. I mean, he was due $19 million or a little bit more than that, and the Phillies really weren't coming from a position of leverage. And you could kind of tell that things were, he wasn't an everyday player. You could tell he wasn't happy. He wasn't particularly pleasant in any of his interactions with the media. So you kind of saw the writing on the wall. And then it came out what happened during the season. I guess he brought a beer into the dugout when he was taken out for defensive purposes. And I think, it got to the point where even though it was time for players to report that they had not released him or traded him, that they told him not to report. And I think he had become a cancer in the clubhouse, and there was no way, shape, or form that he was going to be back. I think he admitted, that he didn't handle things well. I think the Phillies could have nipped that in the bud better, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, by far.
I think they kind of let him dictate a lot of the things that were going on, and it's unfortunate. I mean, I think there seemed to be a lot of uproar on social media about them getting rid of him. I think he was a fan favorite, but I mean, in terms of what he gave them for what they were paying him, I mean, I don't know that it was a 250 hitter. He was okay, but certainly not what I think they thought that they were getting. And he kind of became a little bit of a liability in right field defensively.
Yeah, he had some clutch hits from time to time, but I think his son might have been the bigger sports star in Philadelphia than what Nick Castellanos was. Now the real question is, though, JT, does he actually make the team for the Padres? I mean, they got a pretty stacked outfield. Do you think? I mean, what are his chances of even making it on the squad in San Diego?
Well, I think he can make the team. I just, I don't know that he's going to be an everyday player. And, they don't have to justify making him an everyday player. They signed him for a veteran minimum of $780,000. Now he's still getting almost 95% of his pay from the Phillies. So the Phillies are pretty much eating that contract this year. So I think he could be on the team, but I mean, he'll probably be a guy coming off the bench. And let's remember, I mean, as fun of a guy as he could be, and he brought a little bit of swagger. You said he had some big hits. He also, sometimes when you get rid of a player, you tend to revise history a little bit about how good he actually was. I'm not saying he was a bad player, but remember, there was some awfully long stretches where he was giving them next to nothing at the plate. And, and he was kind of he was an okay outfielder. He wasn't terrible, but it was just okay. But, they didn't pay all that money for okay and for a 250 hitter. And now some things came out that it seemed like he didn't really want to come to Philadelphia. There was, he was kind of hoping that there would be some other offers, and nobody budged, and he ended up taking that offer to come, he got a lot of money to come play for the Phillies. But it never, apparently he was never quite comfortable coming to the Phillies, and I guess never quite felt comfortable playing for the Phillies.
We'll see how it plays out. I mean, Jackson Merrill in that outfield, they got Tatis out there. Andahar is out there, too. I mean, they got a lot of good outfielders out in San Diego. We'll see what happens. As long as he doesn't hurt the Phillies in the playoffs and, come out and torch them when it means the most, if the Phillies play the Padres, I think we'll be okay. But turning over to the Philadelphia Phillies, had some controversy, of course, in the offseason now that Bryce Harper's in camp. You saw the comment about Dombrowski not saying that, of course, Harper didn't have an elite season last year. How happy do you think, I'm sure you saw the interview when Bryce Harper was interviewed this week about Dombrowski's comments of him not being an elite player. Your thoughts as far as what Bryce Harper had said? I mean, it doesn't seem like we got the Bryce Harper that's happy to be in Philadelphia right now, like we did in previous years.
Well, I think with Bryce, I think it might be two things at play here. One is, I think Bryce Harper considers himself as a very loyal guy when it comes to whoever he's playing for. And I think he's coming at it from the standpoint of, well, I came here, I signed a 13-year contract for, what was it? Or was it a 10-year? Was it a 13-year deal?
13-year deal. Yeah.
13-year deal for about $330 million. And I don't want to go, I want to basically finish my career here. And he goes out of his way, sometimes maybe over the top, to show how much he loves Philadelphia, how much he loves the fans, how much he loves, playing for the Phillies. And I think he expects that kind of undying loyalty in return. So I think the fact that management came out and mentioned that he didn't have an elite season and that he wasn't the elite Bryce Harper that they've come to know, I think it rubbed him the wrong way. I don't think Dombrowski said anything out of turn. I don't think he was like he stunk. But you could see that Bryce was struggling a little bit at times at the plate. I think I give him credit. I think he's turned himself into a pretty good first baseman, a pretty good defensive first baseman, for that not being a position that he played before. But I think he's, he plays so aggressive and he has such an aggressive swing at the plate that I think, he's had some elbow issues. He's had some wrist issues. And I think he was battling all of that throughout the season. He came out of the lineup a couple of times. He spent some time on the injured list, and I think he was just, was able to manage the pain and was able to play through it. So I think, getting back to my original point, I think he was just taken aback a little bit that he felt like that he was being criticized. I don't know that I agree with that, but I think that's what he was thinking. And I think, second of all, I think he's seeing the fact that, he took all those years for all that money, and at the time it looked like a good deal. And now I think he's seeing some of the money that's moving now with some of these contracts for shorter term. I think, now some players have caught on to the trend to maybe sign shorter deals or make sure that there's an opt-out in there early in the contract so that maybe you can get that second big payday, before you hit the downside of your career. I think that's why there's been talk of maybe, a Harper wanting some kind of extension, even though we're in year 7 of this contract. Yeah. So, we're a little bit past the halfway point. So, I think those two things now, maybe he uses these as a motivating factor, factors, and plays with a chip on his shoulder, and he has a bounce back year in 2026.
Yeah, it was interesting, his comments this week, of course, when he was first asked about the whole situation. I mean, prior years when he's coming to spring training, he had that fire, he had that love for Philadelphia, and he was all about the Philadelphia. Not in this interview this past week, of course, when he was asked about it. Hopefully that doesn't carry over, and hopefully it carries over to the best. And like you said, hopefully it fuels his fire here a little bit at the plate. He is a great first baseman. He's turned into a pretty good one, but we'll see how this whole thing plays out this season as we get started. Spring training games, of course, start this weekend. Saturday, the Phils take on Toronto. What are your thoughts on what are we going to see here this season once the regular season starts for the Philadelphia Phillies? How far do they go this season, JT?
Well, I think obviously the vibe is a little different this year because, now they're coming off 2 seasons in which, the expectations were really high and they faltered in the postseason.
Right.
Um, so, they're no longer that team that, kind of came out of nowhere, snuck up on teams, kind of that underdog team making that, that made that run in 2022 and again got close going back there in 2023. Now you're into that third year removed from losing to Arizona in the NLCS, and they haven't particularly hit well in the postseason, and they haven't done that great in the postseason. So now it's kind of like the vibe is different. The pressure's on, the expectations are high, and also everybody kind of, I think there were some frustrations among the players about how Rob Thompson handled certain things in game
Right.
and off the field as well. Talk about a guy like Thompson. They all sung his praises about how he's a laid back guy and he's keeps things loose. Well, that's great when you're winning, but when things start to go in the wrong direction, and maybe you're looking for a little structure, a little discipline, I guess maybe he hasn't provided that, and it's caused some frustration with certain guys on the team. All that being said, I think, they still have a good roster, and I still think they're going to compete for the division. We talked a little bit last week about the starting pitching, and, they're putting a lot of eggs in Wheeler being Wheeler and Nola having a bounce back year. If neither of those things happen, then there could be some problems unless the tweaks that they made to the lineup turn out to be better and we see some more consistent offense. But I fully expect them to compete for the NL East, and I fully expect them to at least be in the wild card hunt, as they roll through the season.
But not beyond that. Your hopes are not high after that.
Well, we'll get to that when we get to that. I'm not a.
You're not going that far ahead.
You mean, do I think they're going to go to the World Series? And
I just want to hear your prediction. How far will the Philadelphia Phillies get this season?
I'm just going to say for right now, I'm just going to say they will be going to the playoffs.
Playoffs, okay. Taking the sea frail.
Well, there's just so much that could happen between now and then.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We always make preseason predictions in a perfect world on paper when, assuming that nothing out of the ordinary happens and nobody gets hurt. And that's just, we've seen that. That's just not realistic.
Right, yeah. I saw an interview today, too. It's kind of funny when they asked Andrew Painter of what they should address him as, because I guess he doesn't like getting called Andy Painter, I guess, in the locker room. Andrew. What? He'd like to be called Andrew now. Andrew Painter instead of Andy Painter.
What about Drew? Would he like Drew? Drew Painter?
It's kind of interesting because he said his name was actually given to him from Toy Story. Andy from Toy Story. That's how he got his name, Andy. So please call him Andrew from here on out, JT. If you do any interviews with him coming up.
I thought he was named after Andy Rooney. I guess I got wrong.
No, yeah, that one's not right. That one's not right. We'll see how the Phils open up. They open up this weekend. Of course, spring training games begin this weekend, Saturday against Toronto. Over to, it almost felt like a Saturday here today. I got to watch some Hershey Bears hockey here this morning. We also got to watch some Olympic hockey. Of course, Team Canada in the quarterfinals taking on Czechia. Very exciting game. It came down to overtime. And, of course, the Vegas Golden Knights, Mitch Marner with the game-winning goal as the Team Canada is moving on into the semifinals. Did you catch any of that game today, JT?
Hey, I'm a working man. I don't have time to be goofing
I was a working man.
Of course.
Just had a TV there.
I did see a little of it. And, I guess I'm mildly surprised that it did go to overtime, but not surprised that it was close. Czechia has a good amount of NHL players on their roster, so they're nothing. No, they're nowhere near the Czech Republic team that they had in the '98 Winter Olympics, the one that they won where they won the gold medal, and Dominik Hasek was the goalie. But still, there's still some, there are a lot of teams in the Olympics that maybe don't have the depth that the U.S. has or Canada has, but still have like a good amount of NHL players on their roster. You look at a team like Germany; they still have They might not be deep, but they still have Leon Draisaitl and Tim Stützle and
Solid team.
JJ Peterka. Yeah, so they've still got some good players as well. It's certainly a tough draw, and for that matter, a tough draw later this afternoon for the United States as we record is taking on Sweden.
Yeah.
Sweden had a hiccup in the preliminary games against Finland, which dropped them into having to play a first round matchup here in the knockout stage. So, U.S. having to play Sweden. Sweden is loaded with more NHL players than Czechia is. So again, now as people, when people see this or people watch this, the game will have already been played. But certainly not an easy first round draw in the knockout stage for Team USA. But I still like their chances.
Yeah, we'll see. Right now, the other games going on. Switzerland's beaten Finland 2-1. Already
so that's a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not sure what period that's in. That could be the third period. But and earlier, Slovakia beat Germany as well, 6-2. So I guess it's gonna wait and see who wins these last two games: the Finland-Switzerland game, and then the U.S. Of course, taking on Sweden here later on this afternoon to see how these semifinals are going to play out. But we'll see what happens with the United States later on today in Olympic hockey. Have you been watching much of the Olympics this year?
Here and there. I do catch some of it later in the evening. I've caught some of the. I actually caught some early afternoon stuff when I've been home for lunch, like in the biathlon. I've always been impressed with the biathletes in the Winter Olympics to expand that much energy and get that heart rate up when you're doing cross country skiing, then have to like lay down and slow yourself down and shoot those targets to stay steady and calm. All of those cross country skiers, and it's like, man, those Norwegians, they're like cross country skiing machines. It's like it's ingrained in their DNA. That's just like, in fact, I think skiing might be like the most popular form of travel in Norway, which is why they're all so darn good at it. And why they're running away with in the medal count right now at the Olympics.
Yeah, I'd love to see how some of these folks train for the Olympics, and that's one sport that, oh man, I would love to just see a training practice, any type of training that they do, because it's got to be a pretty intense training session that they put forward for the Olympics. Of course, the Olympics are going to wrap up this Sunday already. We're going to get back to, of course, NHL hockey. That's coming up here. We'll give it the preview of the second half of the NHL hockey season. But the Hershey Bears, they were also in action here this morning up in Toronto. 11 a.m. game time. I think they were expecting a little more fans. They got a little bit of a snowstorm up into Toronto. Only had a little over 2,000 probably kids on hand at the game here earlier this morning, but the Bears actually come out with a victory 3-2 over Toronto. Well played game for Stevenson. If you caught any of it, a lot of shots on goal for him, and he had 17 saves, I should say, in the first period alone in that game.
Yeah, they were really. I got a chance to listen to some of it, and they were really uppering him in that first period. So I think they were pretty fortunate to be scoreless after the first period. But credit to them. They've it's been hard. They've really had a difficult time since the early part of the season finding some kind of consistency. To see them come back today in the third period with I think it was Protas and Miroshnichenko.
Two goals for Miroshnichenko and an assist for him too. Yep.
Yeah, so it was a nice comeback win for them. They seemed a little flat on Monday afternoon in the Belleville game, coming off the 6-3 win over Belleville. So all in all, not too bad of a road trip. What they go 2-2 on that trip.
Yep.
They really kind of sputtered out of the gates last Friday against Laval. They never really got on track in that game, and they're trying to get healthy. They're trying to find some consistency. I guess the only one, Laval, I'm not surprised. They're a really good team, but the fact that they beat Belleville 6-3, I guess maybe I expected a better result on Monday afternoon for them to lose like that 3-1. But they didn't let it linger. So credit to them. Playing a decent team in Toronto at a weird time in front of a sparse crowd. Maybe you come out flat in that game, but the fact that they were able to rally in the third period. Now let's see. Now um, they got 2 against the Phantoms coming up this weekend at Giants Center. And it's like the Phantoms, the Bears. They're all kind of there's some bunching there. In fact, as we're talking about this, I just want to take a quick check of the standings. Now, I don't know if they'll have the current result in there, but if you look, the Bears are solidly in third place, or fourth place, excuse me, 4 ahead of Bridgeport and 6 ahead of Lehigh Valley, who's really struggled lately, and they've moved down to 6th place. I guess they're within straight. I guess third place. They're only 5 behind Charlotte. Is not out of the question now. Charlotte has 2 games in hand on the Bears. So and they've and the Bears have struggled at times against Charlotte's, but I would say if you look at how the standings are right now, you'd have to think that third would probably be their ceiling, this year, unless they go on an absolute tear coming up here in March and April. It just looks like there's too much distance between them and Wilkes-Barre Scranton and them in Providence, especially the fact that they haven't taken advantage of their opportunities head to head against the Baby Pens.
Right. Yeah, Miroshnichenko, a good game for him. 2 goals today, an assist. Protas with a goal as well. But they need to pick up the pace a little bit, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen this season with the Hershey Bears. It was an interesting interview. Miroshnichenko was interviewed after the game. Speaks very little English, or maybe he just leads on to that. But his first comments were about the early game here this morning and trying to adjust to an early game. They tried to approach it, I guess, as, practice starts early in the morning up there at the Giants Center some days, and they almost had to approach it almost like a practice session a little bit, but more intense than a practice session. So we'll see what the Bears do here going forward here in the second half of the season as they embark on that. As far as the NHL, they're going to kick back up here 24th, 25th next week is when we get back at it with the NHL season. JT, who benefited the most from this break out of the 3 teams? Was it Pittsburgh? Was it Washington? Or did Philadelphia benefit even more so from the All-Star break?
Well, I would say probably. I'm a big believer. I just don't know that I think you are what you are at this point. I don't know that you flip a switch. Now, maybe it was good to, feel a little bit refreshed. I still like the position that Pittsburgh's in heading into the second half of the season. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with them if they continue to play as well as they're playing. What Kyle Dubas does at the trade deadline. I mean, they were kind of, after last year, it's kind of like implied that they were sort of trying to turn things over and start the rebuild process. Well, they changed head coaches, and it's been a breath of fresh air. And Dubas has even done a couple of, moves on the margins that have really helped them, like the deal to get Chinnikov in from Columbus has really added some offense. They've added some punch. I don't know that they thought that Ben Kindle was going to be as big of a contributor this year as a rookie as he was. They made that trade. They brought in Kulak to bolster the defense, and also brought in Stuart Skinner to platoon with Sheloffs. So it'll be interesting to see if they're still in this position, solidly in second place, trying to chase down Carolina, if they are going to push the envelope a little more as far as trade deadline deals and try to bolster themselves and really make a run at this thing this year. As far as Washington goes, I mean, they've kind of been looking for that consistency that we've been talking about. I like their team overall. I think they're really strong in the blue line. We've talked about that before, and their goaltending is really good. They have depth on the lines, but they don't have like those guys like that kind of strike fear in your heart, like that go-to line. Yeah, that top-notch line that you feel like can really give the opposing team fits. So it'll be interesting to see the Flyers, in my opinion, are going to be the most interesting out of the 3, and in which direction they go. they have not been playing that great as of late. They've won like 3 games in their last 14 or 15 heading into the All-Star break.
Right.
They were playing better early in the year. I tend to think that their goaltending was covering up some of their issues. Dan Vladar was playing really, really well. And it'll be interesting to see if they still think that they're in it, and because I think they thought that they were gonna make that push towards the playoffs, that they were going to move this rebuild forward this year. So I'll be curious to see if they now pivot, if they continue to struggle as much as they are, if they start to pivot a little bit and go a little bit. Take a step back and go into a little more of a rebuild mode, because there's been a lot of criticism online this season. Also, a lot about Wotakit and the situation with his sort of kind of feud with Matvei Michkov, that they kind of have an icy relationship. But the fact that they're kind of sputtering like they have the past couple of years, that doesn't seem like that they are taking that step forward, and what direction do they go in? I think the Flyers have been reluctant to really, I don't know if blow it up is the right term, but really shake it up. I think they've made some trades in the offseason and during the season that have kind of been like on the margins, like almost like cutting the crust off your sandwich rather than just deciding that it's not that great of a sandwich.
I like my crust. My crust.
You're a crust guy, are you?
I'm a crust guy. I like the crust.
Well,
I don't do the Uncrustables.
Some people don't like their crust, and they want the crust off of there. But I think that's what the Flyers have done, and they have been unwilling to decide that maybe the sandwich itself isn't that good, and let's start over and make a new sandwich, and get some better ingredients. I think they're kind of stuck between those two modes, and I think to truly go in a different direction, you have to be willing to part ways with guys that you think are important to the club, like Travis Konechny, Owen Tippett. Those are two guys. Bobby Brink. Some guys that you think. Travis Sanheim.
I was just going to say Sanheim. Yep.
Those are guys that you have to be willing to look at. Even if you don't think you're getting what you think you should get in return, if that's the core that you've had for the last how many years, and you've gone and you haven't made the playoffs, and maybe snuck into the playoffs one year, but your goals are higher, then maybe that you gotta start to realize that core isn't good enough.
We talking about the Flyers, or we talking about the Phillies? Which one are we talking about?
Either or, right?
It sounds like the Phillies too, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. And of course, the Washington Capitals and the Philadelphia Flyers are going to battle here right after the Winter Olympic breaks down in Philadelphia. Next Wednesday is when they will battle in Pittsburgh. Right off the get-go, they will face a tough New Jersey Devils team as well. How do you think that Metro Division is going to play out here in the second half of the season, JT?
Well, I think it's Carolina's division to lose. I think they've separated themselves from the pack. Obviously, barring any injuries. It'll be interesting to see how the Pittsburgh and the Islanders are. The Islanders. There's another really surprise team. Pittsburgh and the Islanders, I think, have been two of the biggest surprises in the entire NHL this year. Not even just the Metro Division, but it'll be interesting to see how those two jockey for second and third, and then can Washington make a jump into that? I think they're in the top four, and then what do you see from the rest of the from the bottom part of the division? Does anybody from the bottom, like New Jersey or the Flyers or Columbus, do any of the the Rangers? I think have pretty much signaled that they're in full sell-off mode. They're probably going to sell off some big pieces at the deadline. So I don't think they're going to be a big factor, but it'll be interesting to see if anybody in that lower tier makes a jump to try to get into that top 3 or 4. But right now, it looks like you've got your solid top 3 are going to be Carolina, Pittsburgh, and the Islanders, with maybe the Islanders and the Penguins, flip-flopping there.
Yeah, and the surprise team there, of course, is the Pittsburgh Penguins this season with how well they've done in that first half of the season. Hopefully they can continue the trend here going into that second half of the season. NHL will get back at it starting next week right here in Central PA, though, JT mentioned to you. We'll briefly discuss it. If you're looking for something exciting to do, we got a new team up in Hershey, man. The Harrisburg Heat are coming to town here coming up in March. They're going to kick off their home schedule in March on the 20th. They just wrapped up over the weekend against Utica with a sweep of Utica over the weekend. But the big news, the Hershey Park Arena is going to be hopping with soccer here coming up, of course, into the springtime season. You excited for a little Harrisburg Heat soccer back at the Hershey Park Arena?
Well, I used to play soccer. I used to play indoor soccer back in the day, so I think I might actually check that out. Now, I'm a little new to this topic, so is this like a brand new Harrisburg Heat? This is a completely different franchise, or did they revive it, or what happened?
Same franchise. I just think they're trying to spark a little bit more interest. You know, the Farm Show, of course, probably could use some renovations up there at Harrisburg at the Farm Show complex, and kind of switching it back to Hershey Park Arena. When a lot of folks remember the Hershey Impact playing there back in the day. I mean, when I was playing in youth soccer, I remember playing some of our games up there at halftime and just playing on that turf up there.
Yeah.
It was so awesome to do. They used to throw out those mini soccer balls when they scored goals, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, they got a pretty packed house at Hershey Park Arena. I think they're just trying to maybe revive a little bit of that from Harrisburg now down to Hershey, and maybe down the road, maybe they'll rename the Harrisburg Heat maybe back to the Hershey Impact in some sort of time frame. But it's pretty exciting. They kick off their home schedule March 20th. That'll be their home opener at the Hershey Park Arena. I mean, it'll be interesting how they transform that arena, because now it's a whole bunch of offices for Hershey Park and stuff up there. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work out, and depending on what type of crowd they get to up there for the Harrisburg Heat. But it is pretty exciting. I mean, if you're a soccer fan and you like indoor soccer, man, it's something to do here in the wintertime other than checking out Hershey Bears hockey. If you're not a fan, you got Harrisburg Heat now coming to Hershey.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, I went to several Hershey Impact games at the arena, and they got pretty good crowds for those games. I remember, just like you mentioned, I remember playing. I played for Iona Soccer, and we played at halftime. We got to play a mini game, like about a 10-minute game. And I remember the big star for the Hershey Impact at that time was a guy named Franklin McIntosh.
Oh yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then they traded him, and they brought in a guy named Drago.
With
that
the
was his name,
headband.
Drago. Yes.
I used to wear the headband when I played soccer because of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him.
He was like an indoor legend. And then I actually went to a decent amount of games when they became the Harrisburg Heat and played at a Farm Show. I went a couple of times because a guy that I used to play soccer with actually played for, remember, Philadelphia had a team, the Philadelphia Kicks.
Yep.
And they used to play at the Spectrum, and then at the Wells Fargo Center. And I remember coming up to the Farm Show to see him play when the Kicks were in town. So yeah, I think maybe going back to Hershey, maybe, kind of where that whole thing started with the Hershey Impact, maybe that'll give it give things a little bit of a jolt. But yeah, I'll be interested to see. I got to do a little research on what the league looks like and who the teams are. I remember that first Impact game. They played a team. I remember the team they played. They were from Canton, Ohio, and they were called the Canton Invaders.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were really good.
Yeah, I tell you, it was pretty competitive soccer back in the day with the Hershey Impact. Of course, Central PA is rich in soccer tradition, not only with the Hershey Impact, the Hershey Wildcats that played outside at the Hershey Park Stadium. We had the Harrisburg City Islanders that played outside. They're still going strong up there in Harrisburg on City Island too, so have the Harrisburg Heat. But March 20th, if you're looking for tickets, we've also reached out to Harrisburg Heat. Maybe we'll have one of the owners on, or maybe a coach here down the road here on, of course, the podcast Broad Street and Beyond. But if you're looking for something different here in Central PA, man, hey, Harrisburg Heat will be playing at the Hershey Park Arena March the 20th. That's when they get their home schedule started. Let's switch gears over to the NBA, because I don't know what
old barn.
I don't know.
Barn,
I can't wait, man. I can't wait to be back in the old barn, even if it's for soccer. I can't wait. I really cannot wait. And a little known fact: did you know that I actually tried out for the Harrisburg City Islanders?
Did you really?
I made it to the last day of the tryouts, and then I was cut. Then they got rid of me. So that's it.
Well, now they're my enemy if they didn't get you on the team.
It was to be expected, man. I didn't even expect to make it to the last day of the tryouts, to be quite honest with you. But had a good run, and it was a lot of fun. But I saw one thing that made me think of that. Harrisburg Heat just had some tryouts about 3-4 weeks ago, right before the season started, to try and get some folks up there to try out. So I should have, at my age, there was no chance that I was trying out this year for sure.
I'm upset that they didn't choose you. So I have a vendetta now against the city. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm over it, but that's pretty exciting. Harrisburg Heat going to play at the Hershey Park Arena. The NBA, Johnny T, please explain to me what exactly happened with this NBA All-Star game here over the weekend. I know they changed the format. It's like a round-robin type tournament, but I didn't quite understand what was going on with that NBA All-Star game. Did you catch any of it over the weekend?
I saw some of it with my son. I think what they were trying to do was they're trying to inject some sort of element of competition back into it.
Okay.
By dividing up the U.S. players from the U.S. into two teams, the Stars and the Stripes, and then because the NBA has truly become global for so long now, they decided to have a team of world all-stars. So you would have Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Karl Anthony Towns, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Victor Wembanyama. Then you could have this super. Well, SG is hurt though, but you could have like this super team of world all stars, and then you're supposed to have these shortened games, this round robin tournament. I mean, it was different in terms of you got to see a different makeup of teams, but to me, honestly, I have more fun watching the skill stuff, the shooting stars competition, the 3-point contest. The dunk contest, I think, is a little played out at this point.
Yeah.
I did enjoy watching the 3-point contest, though, even though Damian Lillard won it and he hasn't played yet this year. Wasn't that amazing? So a guy that hasn't played a regular season game was the 3-point contest winner. I thought that was a little peculiar, but. They tried, but there's just no,
There's no juice in it.
Until you figure out a way to get the players to care, they're not going to care. And then and if they don't care, the fans aren't going to care.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that slam dunk competition and a little bit of the 3-point competition. It was great to see Dominic Wilkins, though, as one of the judges for the slam dunk competition. Loved that, but I mean, it still was. I thought the whole NBA weekend was just lackluster, man. I was hoping for a little bit more with this new format. Then they started playing the games, and I'm like, I have no idea what is going on here with this round robin thing. They play 12 minutes like each game, and the scores like were already online before the game was over on TV. And I was like, what is going on here with this NBA All-Star weekend? I had no idea. I really didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't know. I think they tried. I mean, it was better than what they did last year with that whole target score thing. But
right.
Again, I just don't think. I don't know what they do. I wish I had an answer to get the players to care, but to care more and to make it more of a competition. I mean, I'm old school, so I'm more of an Eastern Conference versus Western Conference guy when it comes to these All-Star games, AL versus NL. But, I guess the ratings and the interest have shown that it's not there for that. So they keep trying to come up with these
ideas. Yeah.
These other ideas, and nothing really seems to be sticking. Now, I have not seen yet or haven't looked up what the ratings were, what kind of views they got, if they got a lot of traction on social media, but it didn't really do it for me.
Yeah, I think they actually got some decent ratings across the cross-platform audience of 8.8 million for NBC, which was an 86% increase over last year's ratings and marking the event's largest audience since 2011. So it must have done something for somebody.
Well, I think the fact that it was on, it was on NBC, it was on network TV, and I think NBC has really built it up.
Yeah.
And I think they also, this year they had it a little earlier. I think that helped because the Olympics are going on as well. And, they had, you were coming off Olympic coverage and then you were going to NBA All-Star. So you know, depending on how the Olympics was doing, you might have had people that were watching the Olympics that kind of kept things tuned to NBC, because after that they went right back to Olympic coverage. So you know, you could have had a certain percentage of people who were waiting, you know, to for the Olympics to come back on, and just maybe kept their TV at NBC or on NBC.
Yeah, it's almost like the Super Bowl halftime show, right? They said that they attracted so many. That doesn't mean everybody was watching it. Doesn't mean everybody was watching it, right? So,
right.
Doesn't mean they were watching it. So we'll see. What do we expect from the Sixers here in the second half of the season, JT, real quick?
I think pretty much what we've gotten. You know, a lot of it's going to depend on, you know, how healthy Embiid is. They struggled towards the really right before the All-Star break, with, you know, that game against the Knicks. I think they were kind of mailing it in there to go into the All-Star break. So they got that game against the Hawks coming up tomorrow night. I think where they were at, that 5th, 6th spot, I think is probably where they're going to be. I would hope they wouldn't drop into that play-in tournament. You know, and then maybe they'll get a little bit of a jolt here once Paul George comes off of his suspension. But, you know, they got to find a way to get more out of their bench if they think that they're going to make some kind of run when they get into the playoffs.
Yeah, got to be a little more consistent here in the second half of the season for sure for the Philadelphia 76ers. They get back at it, tomorrow night? Is that correct? Tomorrow night?
Yeah, tomorrow night I think they play I think they play the Hawks, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So Sixers basketball will be back tomorrow night, so at least something exciting to watch on TV here before we get to spring training. Baseball, among other things that happened over the weekend, too, since the area that we're in loved their NASCAR coverage. We got the Daytona 500, like your background back there, JT. Are you a race car guy? I guess Reddick won it. He was part of the Michael Jordan crew, I guess, and he was only leading one lap, and he won the Daytona 500. That's changed, too, because now they turn it into, like 3 races now, too, for the Daytona 500?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I'm not a big NASCAR fan. I'll be completely honest about that. It's not like I won't watch it. I have trouble, though, when you have I know wrecks are an exciting part, I guess, if you're there live, but for me, it's hard to get when you keep stopping and you're under caution. It's kind of like, you know, looking at my in-laws or so, and watching it, because my father-in-law is a big NASCAR fan,
Sure.
and I'll sit and watch it with him. And, you know, and then the caution comes out. Well, now what do? Now you flip to something else because nothing's going on.
Right.
And then you got to figure out, okay, well, when's it come back on? You know, that was an exciting finish. I'll say that. You know, they were what were they, like 4 wide there
at the end,
coming at the last lap. It looked like Chase Elliott was making his move, and then all of a sudden it was like all hell broke loose, and it turned into, like, you know, it looked like me playing one of those arcade racing games where you just purposely run into all the cars and sideswipe everyone, and then everyone goes out of control. And you know, and Reddick was the unfortunate one. I guess it's not how many laps you lead all the time. It's which laps, right?
Yeah.
So big one. That was Michael Jordan's car. Am I right?
I believe so. Yeah, he was in the winner's circle. He was all decked out in the Jordan wear, and I would assume that he was part of the Jordan team, but he only led the final lap to win the Daytona 500. So the NASCAR season that is off and running for me and JT. I'm not sure how much of NASCAR we'll dive into. So if you're a NASCAR fan here on the show of Broad Street and Beyond, we'll mix it in. But don't think you're going to get like a Darrell Waltrip type analyst style of NASCAR from either one of us, because I don't think we're going to be capable of doing that for the NASCAR season.
Well, one thing I've always noticed, that one thing that I've always liked about the Daytona 500 for me personally, is that when it comes around, you know, like you're getting close, or you can sort of, you're getting closer to spring. You can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, maybe for winter. So that kind of always gets me excited when the Daytona 500 comes on. And that is one race that I will, you know, I'm not a guy that will will watch golf every weekend,
Right.
but you can bet that I'm there watching the Masters, when the Masters rolls around, or the U.S. Open, or the Open Championship, or the PGA, and Daytona kind of falls in. Like, it's so synonymous with big sporting events that it's one that I will, take a peek at.
Yeah. So the NASCAR season, it is off and running. So we'll see what takes place the rest of the year here as the Daytona 500 got that underway over the weekend. Let's switch gears to pickleball. No, I'm just kidding, JT. We're not going to talk pickleball. That's
Well, I got to notice my backhand is no. I'm just kidding.
I think that wraps up our podcast, man. There's nothing else to talk about. There's nothing else to talk about, JT.
If you're trying to do a segment about pickleball, I think we've about reached the end.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we're running out of steam now.
We'll get into badminton and everything else. So.
Yeah.
Till next week, Broad Street and Beyond will be back. Hopefully, we'll have some more sports to talk about. And hold on, wait, my light just dropped. It was a mini hopper moment. The light just dropped out of nowhere.
What are you doing? You rocking the joint over there?
I got
What's
it.
going on?
I got it set.
Okay,
up, man. It's not like a high operation I got going here. So I mean, things happen at different times that shouldn't happen. So we'll see. We'll be back next week though with Broad Street and Beyond. More sports to discuss. We do have some. Hopefully guests in the works. We're just waiting to get a response from those guests. That is the toughest part about this, trying to get the highly talented folks that we'd like to have here on Broad Street and Beyond going forward. So we have emails out. We're just waiting to hear back from them, JT.
Yes.
So
yes,
hopefully...
I've emailed all the cast of Stranger Things and Taylor Swift, and I'm just waiting for a reply back.
Yeah, you handle that stuff. I'll handle the actual stars of the sports world. So we'll tackle that next week. Broad Street and Beyond will continue next week. Hopefully enjoy, of course, the week of sports, JT. Hopefully have a great week, man. We'll talk again next week.
You bet, brother. Can't